International 6 Days of Enduro is really unique, it's iconic. Everybody want to take part of that at least once in their life or in their sporting career.
I age, I think, 10 years every 6 days. It is probably the toughest event for sure I've ever done.
Spent my whole year just kind of preparing for this race, and so I definitely feel very ready. We usually start, 7 in the morning. You take off, you get a sheet that has all your different times, all your different minutes for which check you have to be at that check at that time. So you have this like little list. You always have to have a watch for sure.
The special tests are set up, obviously to be difficult, but they're timekeeping sections. So we have 6 special tests per day.
Average special test time would probably be 5 to 8 minutes, I'd say. And that's just an all-out sprint.
6 tests a day, and then you just transfer to each one of them.
Maybe have road, they could have gnarly trail.
Transfers can vary between like 45 minutes, and I think our longest one this week was like an hour 15, hour and a half.
They want to challenge you, they want to do everything they can to run you and the motorcycle into the ground before you have to race the special test.
You got a lot of ground to cover in between sometimes, and you might not see anybody for a while. You're just kind of in the no man's land. So it's weird to get into that mental state of just like, I'm in a race, and then I'm not. And then I'm in a race, and then I'm not. That's a unique part of this event.
That's what they're trying to do is basically slow you down, make you stay at a specific pace to, wear your body down, wear your motorcycle down, do what it takes to, tax you throughout the 6 days, so it's not just a walk in the park, let's just ride a road to these racetracks and be done.
So you'll take off, you do mostly a transfer, you go to the first test, you'll do a test, you do a transfer into time controls, or like service sections. So you kind of have like maybe 5 minutes there, and then you'll have to go into a time control, which is your minute, like which you have on your card. You have to go, say you'll have time control 2, you gotta be there at like 10:47. You have to, a clock right on there, sitting there. So the second it hits 10:47, you roll through, they mark your paper, and you go do your transfer, you go off to another test. And then at the end of the day, you have called a final service, and you have 15 minutes to change your front and back tires, and then whatever else you need to do before the end of the day. And then you roll up through the podium, put your bike back into impound and park it on your mat in your little section where your number is, and the next day you do it all over again.
In order to, to do well at 6 days, which we don't have a series here in the US for our riders to be familiar with and race, weekend in, weekend out. So this is the closest format that we have here in the US, the Sprint Enduro World Championship Series.
I definitely think it affects us not having a series or a certain race that's even remotely close to ISDE. The actual setup between having transfers and then all these different tests, like you don't have that. The DOT street tires, the eco tires that we have to race on over there, like we hardly ever even ride on those, so that's a huge setback. Having the mental strength is something that's very, not talked about, because you are on the bike for 8 hours a day and it's very mentally draining. The 6 days long is hard to stay focused for, definitely.
This is a good 3-day event, and we'll actually stay 1 extra day now to start really training the skills and drills, you know, kind of breaking down the course now. We'll have a couple rider coaches here to really help the riders to kind of find lines that they necessarily didn't find in the last, you know, 3 days of racing, and make them kind of try new lines and find like, oh, it's tenth of a second faster here. You gotta, you know, move your line just a little bit to make it faster.
Good. Let's try it one more time. Still do the B, so down, cut back on the inside. A couple of you are still coming way inside all the way around. I would prefer it if you do inside, but then shoot kind of to the right of the arrow here.
What they do after every test and also after the race, the riders are working on the bike skills, bike maintenance skills. That's also an important part of 6 days, as the rules are, the rider has to do everything themselves now.
Side, you're gonna go that way, aim that way. There you go.
The things I've seen going to 6 days are unbelievable. I've gone 7 times now, so yeah, I just grew up racing enduro, hare scramble, and trail riding with my family. And where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of legal riding, so racing was kind of the way to get out and ride different places, locations. That's how it all started, and just going to the races with my brothers, and next thing I know, I'm here.
Basically have to dedicate your whole life. You wake up, you think about dirt bikes, you go to sleep, you think about dirt bikes. Like everything you do through in and out of your days, like it's to better yourself racing. In my 20s, I was more dedicated to racing, so I didn't quite go to the bars, I didn't go drinking, go to concerts or any kind of that's normal, you know, 20-year-old stuff. So I'd say that I definitely gave up a lot of my social life and that kind of aspect, but in the end, like, I get to travel as much as I do and see everything that I do, that I definitely don't regret it. Faced a lot of adversity as a woman in such a male-dominated sport. It's hard when you're 20 years old and you can't find support to help pay your bills or just to get to the races. Like that's hard. Like that's, at that point, you know, you have to get a job, and you know, at some point you have to, I guess you could say, grow up, but it's not really growing up. It's just becoming an adult and supporting yourself, which is extremely hard to do without a lot of support for women in this sport. So there was a few years where it was definitely like scraping the bottom of the barrel to like get to the races and kind of just live, basically. That was definitely the defining point in my career. Like I went from, you know, here to here, and just that little bit of time and grinding. So that was a tough time, but I'm definitely glad I went through it because it made me stronger and it made me a lot faster just pushing myself to the end, and it's like kind of my only option. So that definitely that pushed me far. So I had a gnarly wreck. It was, I broke my femur, dislocated my hip and separated my shoulder. I've worked extremely hard to prepare myself and mentally, physically for my injury in February. Just like I want to be able to prove that I can come back and still be at the same speed.
You know, I did a lot of really bad things from age 11 to 15 probably. You know, just one day kind of popped up and I said, wow, you know what, this isn't really the path I want to go down, and ended up getting a job at the local Honda dealership assembling mopeds. And honestly, that probably saved my life. I'm 51 years old, so I'm not obviously at the level of a Taylor Robert or a Josh Toth, but you know, I'm coming down the backside and I think I still ride pretty good. I feel great for being 51 years old. Fortunate keeps popping into mind just because, you know, I'm on the last team. It's a unique experience that, again, not many people get to do, and so it feels good to be on the last team for sure. A few days that we're going to be out here, you know, putting some mileage in and just making sure that I'm fit for it, telling myself that I'm not incapable of doing something like this.
Have about 30 countries come together and they compete for this trophy to be the best country in the world. Some say it's like you can consider it as like Olympics of Enduro.
All the national team made by the trophy team, so the pros, and also together with the amateurs, the clubs, make a parade behind their national flag till the podium.
There's usually about 8 different tests that you have to walk. They're usually about 3 to 5 miles long. So we'll walk those at least 2 times each, trying to do 3 times each, just so you remember each kind of corner and each specific section.
Man, I think the toughest part, honestly, for me is walking. We walk about 100 miles in 8 days. Tough on the joints and stuff like that, and your hips start to hurt and knees and your feet start to blister, and that's a big part of it, man. It's a hard part.
The first day at 6 days is always kind of, it's like almost eerie, like you don't know exactly what to expect because you have no idea what the transfers are going to be like. You don't know exactly how the tests are going to shape up and stuff and how it's going to be racing or where you're going to be at. So you're definitely a little nervous the first day. Like I think everyone shows up way too early and we end up sitting there forever waiting because we're all just like so antsy, ready to go. It's definitely everyone's quiet and just going through all their tests and making sure they kind of have everything in their brain to like set a good tone for the week. So I'd say it's a very unique feeling for sure. It's nerve-wracking.
Just so much activity and so much going on because everybody's prepping their bikes and the tents from all the countries and just so much activity and hustle and bustle. It's kind of almost overwhelming. You want to try to take it all in and see everything, but you can't because there's just so much.
An amateur will race together with his friends on the same tracks, on the same facilities of the pro riders.
Yeah, try to keep the crashes to a minimum because you're limited on time throughout the day to like work on your bike. A day could be so stress-free and so fun. You're just crushing it, you don't hit the ground, but you break one part, that's a pain to change, and it flips your day quick.
The endurance is a factor in the 6 days of enduro. 6 days of races can be really long and very tough for your body, for the machine. There is a lot of possibility of crashes and injuries.
Day one, I was just dying out there and I was like, I just gotta finish, get to the finish. Once my score drops out, it's over for the team, so it relies on all of us really. It can vary too. You think you're gonna feel good the next day, you're feeling fresh, and then by the end of that day, you could be totally smoked. And it's kind of hard to predict, honestly. You wake up in the morning, you do not want to get out of bed, your wrists hurt, your ankles hurt, everything. It's like day 3 or 4.
One day of racing at 6 days is beyond any normal race weekend that you have, you know, doing your normal race series, but also thinking, okay, I've got to do this for, you know, 5 days in a row plus the motocross. The mental piece is beyond, I think, the physical.
Mentally, it's very mentally fatiguing. Like by the end of the day, you just want to eat and sleep. Like that's it. Like it's a pretty tough race.
is a real challenge even today for man and machine. To finish a 6 days competition is not so easy. So you have to really train a lot before attending the 6 days because the competition is really tough.
So I don't know if it was just my body not being accustomed or, conditioned. I didn't train hard enough, which I didn't train hard enough. I know that. It's all on me. It's nobody else's fault but my own.
Didn't think I'd come this far.
I was struggling, and just struggling bad.
At some point, I stopped counting.
My hands won't work, the coordination's gone, my focus is gone, and I'm just at the point where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
Everything blurred so softly.
And as I'm looking at my time, I knew I was going to be really, really late. And I don't know what's going to happen, what my body's going to do if I continue to push it.
More ways to go, it's almost the end. Made it this far, just round the bend. Ooh, I think I see the clearing.
Like, life's just kind of too short to die here. And after test 5, I just kind of pulled off past everybody, didn't talk to anybody, went under the tree, and kind of had to contemplate life in the shade for a minute. And, it's absolutely the hardest decision I've ever had to make. And
taking us steps enough to get to where we're going.
I didn't meet all my goals this year, but pretty close. And so it's like, wow, okay, that's possible for where I am in life and who I am. And, racing with guys like Josh Toth. It's like, man, those kids are just amazing in what they do. And like, Brandy Richards and Rachel Goodish and Rick Emerson. I mean, they're my heroes, those guys are amazing, and like I get to be here with them and ride alongside them. So yeah, so I'm pretty happy with myself, I guess. Definitely closing a chapter, and so helping people get to this place is something that's on my list. And I'm never going to not be around the racing community and always going to ride motorcycles, but it might be more, let's go to Argentina and ride adventure bikes, or let's go to Costa Rica, or let's go, do some things that are fulfilling for us, but maybe not this high level of racing.
Ooh, I think I see the clearing.
People coming from all over different sides of the world, it's cool to meet all these different types of people, and they might not even speak the same language, and you're on a road with somebody that you can't even talk to or communicate with, but you ride all day with, and you're like best buds, and you haven't said a word to each other. I think dirt bikes are just kind of like a universal language,
Riding with you in the sunnier days, I wouldn't want it any other way.
A lady with the Sweden shirt, another one with the Chile, the third one with Argentina, Brazil, Italy, France. And so to see all these people together coming from different countries and supporting the national team is really something special for the world of motorcycling. That is by definition a sport when usually you fight for yourself, for your own victory. And in this case, to fight for your nation, for your country, for me is something really beautiful.
It's an honor. It's really cool to do it again. I did it in 2016, and to come back and go through the same event, but just totally different country, different atmosphere, different terrain, and still come out on top. It's cool. It's something I'm proud of, and I definitely will do again.
Like our women's team, even with the other women that I've raced with, it's like a sisterhood. Like you definitely are like sisters after that, and you know that they have your back no matter what. After spending like that much time with them and just having each other's back, like we know that if we ever need anything, the other person will definitely be there.
It's almost surreal in a way because you don't really, I don't think I took it all in until it's after, it's over and you go, wow, this is a huge accomplishment for Team USA. And those guys really went after it. So super proud.
Sunshine, I can feel you pulling me out of this haze. Hold me in your arms, but all I wanna do is let you go. I fight with all that I am in the shadow. Why don't you just let me fade? You protect me from everything I could become. Lifetimes in your eyes, waiting on someday to come. From midnight to the morning, all I wanna do is let you go. But I fight with all that I am to hide in the shadows. Why don't you just let me fade? Ooh, you protect me from all. But I hide in the shadows. Why don't you just let me fade?